Good evening, everybody. This is Jeff J. Brown in beautiful, green, flowery, wonderful Shenzhen, China for another China Rising Radio Sinoland podcast based on an article posted on the China Rising Radio Sinoland website. I will post the links to the article so that you can see the pictures and everything if you found this by podcast. Let's get started because there's a lot of craziness going on over here in China, Korea, and in this area, principally thanks to the United States' ramping up of pressure on North Korea. The title of this article is, Do Trump and Company know China and North Korea have a mutual defense treaty? And here we go. In 1961, John F. Kennedy was starting to ramp up America's presence in Vietnam. This after standing up to the Joint Chiefs of Staff by refusing to authorize the CIA's Bay of Pigs invasion fiasco to receive Air Force support starting on April 17, 1961. To paraphrase Donald Trump's Vice President Mike Pence recently, like 2 days ago, it was time for JFK to show his strength and resolve in the endless war against communism. Vice President Pence was in South Korea this week to pound on America's King Kong chest. He snarled that Trump had already proven his mettle in Afghanistan, the Moab, the mother of all bombs bomb, and Syria, the bogus missile attack on an empty government airbase, and is now threatening the North not to test the strength of the armed forces of the United States of America, and that is a quote from the VP, Mike Pence. In May 1961, Kennedy's VP, Lyndon Baines Johnson, dutifully flew to Saigon. Sound familiar? He met with America's fascist puppet South Vietnamese dictator, President Diem, who was despised by almost every citizen under his brutal control. With a straight face, LBJ announced to the world that this butcher was the Winston Churchill of Asia. How do you like that? Given Churchill's racist and genocidal policies in every British colony across the planet, the comparison was much closer to the truth than admitted by the obedient Western press. JFK, playing his part, sent 400 Green Beret Special Forces to Vietnam to train the South Vietnamese in anti-communist counterinsurgency. Time to wipe out those evil Viet Cong guerrillas off the face of the map. We know how that turned out. About as well as the Korean War, where in both imperial invasions, 3 million local, what the Americans like to call gooks, were slaughtered like rats under an endless sky of carpet bombing. Serve those dirty commies right. They had it coming, I tell you. Just ask John Wayne. Mao Zedong and Kim Il-sung, China's and North Korea's leaders, respectively, knew exactly what this meant. In spite of giving Uncle Sam a humiliating beating during the Korean War, it was clear that the world's self-appointed RoboCop had not learned his lesson and was going back for Southern seconds. Thus, there was the real possibility Imperial America could come back to the Korean Peninsula for an encore ass-kicking. Thus, on July 11, 1961, China's Premier Zhou Enlai and North Korea's Kim Il-sung signed their, quote, Treaty of Friendship, Cooperation, and Mutual Assistance between the People's Republic of China and the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Hyperlink of the treaty text is included. It renews automatically every 20 years unless canceled by either party. Thus, it renewed in 1981 and is in full effect until 2021. Trump, who would have to wait and get reelected into his second term, crossing his fingers that either China or the DPRK, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, otherwise known as North Korea, called it quits. I wouldn't hold my breath if I were Trump, and I provide a hyperlink to explain why. For Trump and his gang of merry warrior pranksters, Article 2 is worth repeating. Article 2. The contracting parties undertake jointly to adopt all measures to prevent aggression against either of the contracting parties by any state. In the event of one of the contracting parties being subjected to the armed attack by any state or several states jointly, and thus being involved in a state of war, the other contracting party shall immediately render military and other assistance by all means at its disposal. Simply put, if the U.S. or any other country attacks the North, China is obligated to defend it. This means war by any other name. Some Western pundits claim that China does not have to do this due to Article 1. Article 1 says, the contracting parties will continue to make every effort to safeguard the peace of Asia and the world and the security of all peoples, suggesting that this gives China wiggle room since the North's nuclear missile program does not safeguard peace in Asia. I would suggest just the opposite, and Baba Beijing agrees with me. The DPRK's nuclear threat is all that is keeping the tyrannical West from trying to turn the North into another Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Syria, or Yemen. I'll stop there because the list is long. As explained in this hyperlink, China is going to make sure its baby communist brother-in-arms is seen no harm, although that does not discount a possible media-friendly, Syrian-like false flag missile attack for China to help make Trump look like he is showing his imperial strength and resolve. Attend Hut! And there are 2 links to recent articles that explain this. On November 1st, 1950, over 1 million volunteer Chinese began pouring over the North Korean border and dealt a devastating defeat to the United States. Although, like Vietnam, losing is furiously denied and censored in the West. A fake, heroic presidential missile attack on an already vacated airbase aside, like in Syria 2 weeks ago, Trump, his deranged generals, and corporate-owned congressmen had better take a sobering look at history and remember what really happened in 1950 and 1961. Simply put, China and North Korea are not Grenada and Panama. This is Jeff J. Brown, China Rising Radio Sinoland, signing out from the awesome city of Shenzhen, China. Good night.